If you don't catch everything today, that's okay, because we'll be going through a different example at a similar pace next week. Okay? So this is just to get you guys going. And we may not do recursion next week, which is what we're going to try and hit today. So it could be useful. Okay, so I want to see, just for testing purposes, what that point looks like. Push play, select some contours, run it, and now we can see outputted both to the command line and the output window here all of the start points that we're looping through. And there's a lot here. That may seem a little bit strange because we didn't select that many contours. The reason there's a lot of start points here is because for every contour, we're again looping through all the contours. Okay? So for each one, we're looking at the whole system that we selected. So that's why you'd have to, if we selected 10 contours, we'd actually see 100 start points listed here in our list. Because we have a loop inside of a loop, or a loop inside of another loop. That's clear, right? Okay. You need to be aware of these things because these are what is going to make your script run slower. Okay? So there are ways to write things more efficiently if we figure them out. But right now we are looping through all the contours every time that we see a contour. Okay. So now we can see that it's actually working correctly. So we can get rid of this the print line and move on. Okay. So now we actually have to say if the contour has the same z value as we're trying to look for. So we're trying to find double z below. If double z test equals double z below, then that is a potential contour that is directly below us. I say potential again because the contour here has the same z value as one of the contours over here. And once we figure out what that one and that one are, then we need to figure out which one is immediately adjacent to us. Okay. Now you can see also why you cannot just think about this from the beginning. You have to work about it from within and from the act of writing the script. Okay. So let's check for equality. So if double z test equals double z below, then this is a potential contour. Do anything terribly. There are multiple ways you could go at this point. I'll probably stick to the way that the handout is going. But just to give you an idea of our options ahead of us now. Every time that we're testing this and we find one that we want to keep, we need to either do something immediately and see if it's close by, or we need to store it in a list to then compare all of the contours that are potential. Okay? So a contour below here also includes a contour over here. That's clear, right? Each time that we loop through here, we'll forget what we found before. So we either need to store it in a list, which is one way of working, or we need to immediately test if we're adjacent. Okay, let's do the adjacency test right now, because that's the way that I did it on the handout. And it probably actually will make your script run faster if you test it immediately. Because if you find one that's close to you, then you can ignore everything else. We don't actually need to figure it out later. We don't need, if we get to this one first and we find out it's close to us, then we can forget about even looping through and trying to find that one over there. So if those are equal, now we need to see if it's close by. Well, we're going to be drawing a line that is perpendicular from a given start point to the contour below. So let's find the closest point from, for instance, this point to this curve that we're testing. There is a command called curve closest point. That may be the wrong one. Let's see what it does. It seems completely fine. Most of the things that we're looking at here are available in Grasshopper in some form. So there is a curve closest point component inside of Grasshopper. It doesn't usually work the other way around. A lot of things that are in Grasshopper you won't find in RhinoScript. Okay? So RhinoScript generally has a lot more basic operations, okay, than Grasshopper. Grasshopper has more components and more complex things that it thinks you use more often and blah, 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 blah. Up to last year, you actually couldn't do anything about that, really, unless you got really complicated and started interfacing directly with the Rhino common module of Rhino. Now, as of last year, you can now access all of the components in Grasshopper via Python. Whether that's good or bad, I'm not sure. But just to let you know, it now is available, and you can generally work back and forth between the two. You would just need to import the Rhino components, or the Grasshopper ones, into your Python window the same way that we imported RhinoScript syntax. Okay. So, curve closest point. What it does is it returns a parameter of the point on a curve that is closest to a test point. So, curve closest point. It takes a curve ID. What is the curve we are testing? So which contour are we testing? Yes, we are testing string contour test.